You are born in Numidia, in a land the Romans call the edge of the known world, but to you, it is simply home. The year is 107 AD. Your father is a merchant, not rich, not poor. He trades in salt, cloth, and sometimes horses. You grow up knowing the smell of spice markets and camel sweat. Your city is Cirta, capital of Numidia, a place of white stone buildings climbing a plateau above the river gorge. The Romans have been here for 200 years. Their presence is water in the walls, invisible, structural, inescapable. You learn to ride before you learn to read. Numidians are the finest horsemen in the world, and everyone knows it, including Rome. Your father says, "Our grandfathers rode for Hannibal. Now we ride for ourselves." You remember that. You are 17 and your father has a route, Cirta south to Thevest, then west to Carthage. 3 weeks by caravan. You have made this journey 4 times. You know every watering hole, every rock formation, every camp where bandits like to sleep. Carthage. You never get tired of it. The city that Rome burned to ash 200 years ago and then rebuilt on the same bones. It smells of fish sauce and perfume and rotting seaweed. It is enormous, loud, and completely indifferent to you. Your downfall begins on a Tuesday. Or what passes for a Tuesday. The specifics are almost funny, in the way that catastrophes sometimes are before you understand what they are. A Roman officer's horse panics in the market. It kicks a stall. The stall collapses onto a Roman citizen. The Roman citizen decides, without evidence and with great conviction, that you caused this. You did not. You were 10 meters away buying figs. You try to explain. This is your first mistake. In the Roman legal system, a Numidian merchant explaining himself to a Roman officer is not a conversation. It is a provocation. There is no trial. There is barely a process. There is a chain around your wrists within the hour and a cart heading north before sunset. Your cargo is still sitting in the market. Your horse is still tied to the post. Nobody unties it. You pass through 3 holding pens in 2 months. The first is in Carthage, a pit beneath a warehouse that smells of old blood and new fear. 20 men, 4 languages, 1 bucket. You learn things quickly in that pit. Who is dangerous? Who is broken? Who is pretending? The Syrian man in the corner, Aziz, has been through 3 pens before this one. He doesn't panic. You watch him and take notes mentally. A lanista arrives on the 40th day. A lanista is a gladiatorial trainer. He is also a slave dealer, a property manager, and a talent scout. He walks the line of prisoners the way your father walked horse markets. Same eyes. Same silence. He stops in front of you for a long time. You stare back. He seems to like that. Later you will understand, men who flinch in the pen die in the arena. He is pre-selecting survivors. It is a business, not cruelty. Though it is also cruelty. His name is Marcus Tullius Pudens. He owns a ludus, a gladiatorial school, outside Capua, in Italy. You are now his property. The price paid for you is not recorded anywhere that you will ever see. You are cargo. The sea voyage to Italy lasts 11 days. The ship is a merchant vessel repurposed. Below deck, 23 men chained to rings in the hull. The smell is what you remember most. Vomit, salt, fear, and the constant creak of wood under tension. You are sick for 6 of the 11 days. This is embarrassing for a man who grew up on horseback. Aziz, the Syrian, finds this quietly amusing. He has crossed the sea twice. He gives you dried ginger root from somewhere in his clothing and says nothing. You owe him for that. Italy. The land is green in a way Numidia is not. Different green, softer, wetter, almost suspicious. The road from the port to Capua is paved with perfect Roman stones. You walk it in chains and notice how good the road is. Rome spends its money on roads. The roads are how it holds everything together. The ludus at Capua is nothing like what you imagined. You had imagined something dramatic, stone walls, fire, screaming. Instead it looks like a large farm. Barracks, a training yard, a kitchen yard, a small shrine to whichever god the lanista favors this month. There are 63 men training here. Some have been here for years. They move differently from the prisoners in the pen. More careful. More deliberate. They walk like they are always measuring distance. Your doctor is a man named Hanno. He is Carthaginian. When you tell him you are from Numidia, he spits on the ground, not at you, just generally in the direction of the concept. The relationship between Carthage and Numidia is complicated. It has always been complicated. It remains complicated in this training yard in Italy, approximately 300 years after both cities stopped being independent entities. Hanno teaches like Berthold would have taught, without sentiment, with complete focus on function. You bleed learning from him. Literally. First week, 3 cuts. Second week, 2. Third week, 1. Fourth week, none. Progress has a price and the price is always the same, Pain, practice, more pain. They assess you on the first day. Strength, speed, reflexes, how you take a hit, whether you get back up. Hanno watches everything. Makes marks on a wax tablet. Doesn't share his conclusions. A week later, you find out what you are. You are going to be a murmillo. A murmillo. Heavy armor, large curved shield called a scutum, short sword called a gladius. The most Roman of fighting styles, which is mildly ironic given that you are Numidian. Hanno explains, your instinct is to move. We will teach your instinct to be wrong. This is how gladiatorial training begins. By destroying what you already know. The food is better than you expected. Not good, but better. 3 meals. Barley, beans, dried meat, olive oil. A physician comes twice a week. Gladiators are expensive property. Pudens feeds his investments. This does not make him a good person. It makes him a rational owner. You share a cell with 3 others. Darios, a Greek from Corinth, who complains constantly and fights brilliantly. Verax, a Gaul from the north, who never speaks but laughs loudly at things that are not funny to anyone else. And Aziz, the Syrian. He made it here too. You are not surprised. The cell is 2 meters by 3. Stone floor. 1 small window too high to see through properly. A wooden door with an iron bolt on the outside. You have slept in worse places. This is not a comfort. It is just a fact. You train for 8 months before your first fight. 8 months of the same yard, the same faces, the same wooden swords. You learn the weight of the scutum until it is not a shield anymore, it is an extension of your left arm. You learn the gladius until you stop thinking about it. In that time, you watch 2 men die. Not in the arena, in training. One breaks his neck falling from a wall during an obstacle exercise. One gets an infection from a cut on his thigh that turns black within a week. The physician cannot save him. Hanno does not speak of them again. The barracks simply reorganize around the empty spaces. You notice Aziz watching you train one afternoon. He was assessed as a retiarius, net and trident fighter. Completely different style. He is remarkably good at it for a man who sold spices in Damascus 3 years ago. You ask him how he learned so fast. He says, I am not fast. I am alive. That is a different thing. The night before your first fight, you cannot sleep. This is not embarrassing. Every man in the barracks is awake. Nobody admits it. You lie on your straw pallet and stare at the ceiling and run through Hanno's lessons until they feel like grooves worn into stone. Your first arena is not the Colosseum. Do not confuse ambition with reality. Your first arena is in Capua, a small stone amphitheater that holds perhaps 8,000 people. It is, for Capua, a significant venue. For Rome, it is a provincial footnote. The crowd noise reaches you underground before you see anything. A low rumble that builds to something that has no single source. It comes from everywhere at once, from the stone walls and the floor and the air itself. Your hands are dry. You made sure of that. You will fight a Thracian. A curved Sicca blade, a small round shield, a helmet with a high crest. Quick fighters who work in angles. Hanno has told you this 6 times in the last 2 days. You know. You know. The gate opens. The sound doubles. You walk into the light and the world becomes simple in a way it has never been before. The sand under your boots, the shape of the man across from you, the weight of the shield on your arm. Everything else stops. This is the one gift the arena gives you. Clarity. The fight lasts 4 minutes and 23 seconds. You count later, in your head, reconstructing. He is fast and moves well. He scores once on your shoulder, a scrape, not a cut, because the manica absorbs most of it. You score twice. The second time he goes down. He is not dead. He raises his finger, the request for mercy. The crowd reads the fight well today. They give it to him. The editor, the man presiding over the games, confirms, Missio. The Thracian lives. You stand in the center of the arena with 8,000 people making noise because of you. It is the strangest feeling you have ever felt. You win the palm branch. You receive a small purse of coins, not yours to keep, but a portion goes into a record Pudens maintains. It is theoretically possible to earn your freedom through fighting. Theoretically. You file this fact away under things that require more information before trusting. Hanno says 3 words when you return to the ludus, shoulder was late. Then he walks away. You think about the shoulder for 2 weeks. He is correct. You fix it. Your second, third, and fourth fights happen over the next year. You win all 3. The pattern is the same each time, underground waiting, the gate, the noise, the clarity, the work. You begin to understand that the arena is a place where time moves differently, both slower and faster than real life simultaneously. 4 minutes can contain a lifetime of decisions. In your second year, something shifts. Hanno begins to work with you differently. Less correction, more strategy. He is teaching you to read a fight before it starts, from the way a man stands in the gate, from the angle of his shoulders, from whether he breathes through his nose or his mouth. A man who breathes through his mouth is nervous, Hanno says. Nervous is not a weakness by itself. Nervous is an energy. But nervous men swing too early. Nervous men give you a gift in the first 20 seconds. Your job is to be there to receive it. Aziz fights for the first time in this same period. His style as a retiarius is extraordinary to watch. The net moves like something alive, and the trident keeps 3 points threatening at once. He wins his first 3 fights also. In the evenings, you and he sit in the yard and compare notes. 2 traders from the wrong side of the Mediterranean, comparing notes on how to survive. Darius the Greek is killed in his 6th fight. Not by his opponent goes down in the 2nd exchange. Darius trips on the man's fallen shield, strikes his head on the stone edging of the arena, and dies before the crowd finishes reacting. Hanno watches. Says nothing. That evening the cell has 3 people in it. Verax the Gaul cries that night. Huge racking sobs from a man built like a siege engine. You and Aziz do not speak. There is nothing to say that makes the arithmetic different. Darius is gone. Verax cried. You did not. You are not sure what that means about you. You think about it for a long time. Year 3. Pudin sells a portion of his ludus to a consortium of Roman investors and expands. 12 new fighters arrive. The dynamics of the yard change. There is a German fighter named Arivist who immediately positions himself as the dominant presence in training. He is very large, very skilled, and very aware of both. Arivist and you circle each other for 2 weeks before Hanno puts you in the training yard together. The session is not friendly. It is also the best training fight you have ever had. He is faster than he looks, which is the most dangerous kind of fast. Afterward, Arivist nods at you. One nod. You nod back. In a place where most conversation happens without words, this constitutes a substantial exchange. Over the following months, something develops that is not quite friendship but functions like it, a mutual professional respect between 2 men who understand exactly what the other is. In your 4th year, Pudens arranges a transfer that will change everything. He has acquired a contract to supply fighters to the games in Rome itself. Not the Colosseum yet, the Circus Maximus area has smaller venues that run fights in the months when the great amphitheater is reserved for imperial spectacles. But Rome. Actual Rome. Rome is overwhelming in a way that Carthage was not. Carthage was large and indifferent. Rome is large and aggressive. It pushes itself at you, the noise, the smell, the sheer quantity of people moving through streets that were designed for far fewer. 1 million people living in a city built for a fraction of that number. Everyone moving fast, everyone needing something, nobody looking at anyone else. The ludus attached to the Roman venue is different from Capua. More fighters. Better equipment. The hierarchy is steeper, the politics more complicated. Men who have fought in Rome carry it differently, a particular kind of weight behind the eyes that comes from being watched by crowds that measure in the tens of thousands. You fight in Rome for the first time in the spring of your 4th year. Not the Colosseum, a venue near the Field of Mars, 20,000 seats. The Colosseum holds 50,000. Even so, 20,000 is a different kind of noise. It is not louder. It is denser. The sound has weight. You win. Then again. Then again. 6 fights in Rome over 2 years, and you begin to accumulate something you did not expect, a name. Gladiators get names. Not always their real ones. The crowd needs something to call you. They call you Jugurtha. After the Numidian king who fought Rome for decades and almost won. The crowd, which contains a remarkable amount of historical literacy for a mob watching men hit each other with swords, finds this appropriately ironic. You find it appropriately ironic too. You do not say so. Year 6. Hanno comes to Rome. Pudens brings him along to oversee his fighters. When Hanno sees how you move now compared to year 1, he takes a moment, a genuinely long moment by his standards, and looks at you like he is recalculating something. He says, less wrong than before. For Hanno, this is practically poetry. In year 6, something else happens. The Colosseum. The real one. Flavian Amphitheater. Built by 3 emperors, dedicated 30 years before you stand in it, capacity 50,000 Roman citizens who have gathered specifically to be entertained by the possibility of your death. You walk the hypogeum, the underground chambers beneath the Colosseum, 3 days before your fight. Pudens arranges this. Not from kindness, he wants his fighters to know the geography. Panic from disorientation kills profitable investments. The hypogeum is a marvel. 2 stories underground, machinery everywhere, winches, cages, pulleys, ramps. Animals in cages you can smell before you see. A lion passes you in a corridor down there. Close enough to smell, a smell like a hot copper pan left over coals, metallic and alive. It is in a cage on wheels. It looks at you with the complete absence of interest that only very large predators achieve. You both know what the other is. There is a certain honesty in that. Your first Colosseum fight is scheduled for the afternoon session. Morning is beast hunts, venations. The sand is replaced between sessions. They are thorough about the sand. It is, you will learn, a professional point of pride for the arena workers. Clean sand is a technical requirement. The blood of the morning makes the afternoon's footing unreliable. The afternoon session begins. You are the third fight? You wait in the gate corridor with the specific patience you have been building for 6 years. A man next to you, a secutor fighter, Italian, been in the Colosseum 4 times before, is visibly shaking. You think of Aziz in the pen beneath Carthage. Some men shake before danger. Some go still. You go still. You have always gone still. The gate mechanism groans. Wood, rope, counterweights, the Colosseum's gates are engineering achievements. They open smoothly despite their weight. The sound of 50,000 people hits you like a wall of warm air. It is not the volume that moves you. It is the scale of human attention, focused, in one direction, at you. You win. The crowd gives you a better reception than you expected for an unknown fighter. The name helps, Jugurtha in the Colosseum. Someone had done some marketing. Pudens, probably. He was not a good person, but he understood branding before the concept existed. You fight in the Colosseum 7 times in your first 2 years there. You win 6. The 7th you survive, a technical draw, both fighters standing at the end, crowd demanding missio for both. It is the only fight in your career where you feel genuinely uncertain during it, and you spend the following month being obsessively, irritatingly precise about the mistake that created that uncertainty. Year 8. Aziz fights in the Colosseum for the first time. You watch from the stands, which Pudens arranges for fighters awaiting their own bouts. Watching Aziz fight from the crowd's perspective is a strange experience. You know how he moves. You have watched him train for years. And yet, in the arena, with the crowd and the light and the scale, he looks different. He looks like something more than a Syrian spice merchant turned gladiator. He looks inevitable. He wins. Of course he wins. Aziz had long since stopped being a man who could be killed easily. You meet in the corridor afterward and he holds up his net, which has a torn section from the fight. He says, "I need to sew this." You say, "Is that what you want to talk about right now?" He says, "Yes." That is Aziz. That is entirely Aziz. The politics of the ludus are constant and exhausting. Who is favored by Pudens? Who gets the better equipment? Who gets the favorable matchups, or what passes for favorable in an industry where all matchups end with someone on the sand? You learn to navigate it. Not from ambition, from survival. The difference matters. In year 9, Pudens dies. Not dramatically. He sits down at dinner one evening and does not get up. His heart, the physician says. He is 57 years old. His property, which includes 63 gladiators, a building, equipment, contracts, and various obligations, passes to his nephew, a man named Gaius Tullius Rufus. Gaius Rufus is 32 years old and has never managed anything more complex than his own household. He inherits 63 gladiators and handles this with the specific panic of a man who has been given something valuable and has no idea what it requires. For the gladiators, this is dangerous. Incompetent management kills people who might otherwise have survived competent management. Rufus makes 2 good decisions and several bad ones. The good decisions, he keeps Hanno as doctor, and he keeps the existing fight contracts. The bad decisions, he sells Verax to a ludus in Gaul, the man's home region, as if that made it better, and he schedules fights with insufficient recovery time between bouts. A fighter named Brennus, Gallic, the best heavy fighter in the ludus after Ariavist, takes 2 fights with only 12 days between them. The second fight, he is slower than he should be. He loses. The crowd votes thumbs down. Rufus, trying to seem decisive, confirms the verdict. Brennus dies in the arena because of a scheduling error. That night in the barracks, nobody sleeps. You lie on your pallet and stare at the ceiling and think about the word, preventable. You will think about it for a long time. You are in year 9 of this life, and you have learned many things, and one of them is this: there are things in the arena that can kill you that are not your opponent. In year 10, Hanno does something unprecedented. He brings a complaint to Rufus on behalf of the fighters. Not framed as a complaint, Hanno is too careful for that. Framed as a professional recommendation regarding scheduling and recovery periods, with reference to injury rates and therefore financial returns. He speaks to Rufus in the language Rufus understands, money. Rufus adjusts the scheduling. Not because he has a conscience. Because Hanno made it clear that dead gladiators are expensive gladiators who cannot fight again. The lesson is not about morality. The lesson is about the language power speaks and the translation required to be heard by it. You observe all of this. File it away. Year 11. Something shifts in the Colosseum. An emperor has a birthday. Or a military victory. The exact occasion is less important than the result, spectacular games. 40 days of continuous spectacle, with the best fighters in Italy competing. Your name is on the list. The 40-day games are the most complicated professional experience of your life to date. 5 fights in 40 days. Against fighters from every corner of the empire. A Dacian who fights like he is attempting to take the entire arena down with him, a Syrian secutor who has 40 fights on his record, a Briton whose reach seems physically impossible. You win 4 of the 5. The 5th fight is against Ariovisst. Your Ariovisst. Your Ludusmate, the German who you have trained beside for years, the man whose nod constitutes friendship. Pudens is dead, but this is now Rufus's problem and Rufus schedules it, presumably without fully understanding what he has arranged. You and Ariovisst stand in the arena for what the crowd must think is a dramatic pause. It is not dramatic. It is 2 men doing very rapid arithmetic about a situation they did not choose and cannot exit. He is better than any opponent you have faced. You are better than any opponent he has faced. You have trained together for years, which means you both know exactly how the other fights. The fight lasts 12 minutes. It is the longest and most technically exact fight you will ever have. You know his tells. He knows yours. You both spend 10 of the 12 minutes removing the knowledge of each other from the equation, fighting like strangers, and it is exhausting in a way that is completely different from any other kind of exhaustion. You win. He goes down from a combination you have never used in training, a pattern you invented specifically for this fight, for him, because you knew everything else he would see coming. He raises his finger. The crowd, which has understood what it has watched, demands mercy loudly and unanimously. The editor grants it. Ariovisst lives. That evening, Ariovisst finds you in the barracks. He sits down. He doesn't say anything for a long time. Then, that last combination. I didn't recognize it. You say, I made it up for you. He is quiet again. Then he laughs, actually laughs, which you have heard maybe 4 times in 5 years. Good, he says. That is the whole conversation. After the 40-day games, your record stands at 23 wins, 2 draws, 1 loss in 11 years. The loss was in year 3, an Iberian fighter, good matchup, off day, survived. In the Colosseum specifically, your record is 12-0. Rufus begins to understand what he inherited from his uncle. In year 12, you begin to receive a different kind of attention. Senators send messages. Not to you, to Rufus, about you. Requests to appear at private venues, at dinner party entertainments for the very wealthy. Rufus, to his credit, declines most of these. A fighter of your record fighting in a senator's garden is not good for the narrative. You find out later he charges more for the ones he accepts. Your profile in Rome changes. Graffiti appears with your name. This was the primary social media of the Roman world, etched into walls by people who had opinions and no other outlet. You are written about. Compared to famous fighters from previous generations. Someone in Pompeii has painted your name on their house wall. You find this out from a visitor to the Ludus and cannot decide how to feel about it. You are 30 years old. Which in your life and profession is a specific kind of age. Not old. But not young the way you were at 18. The body catalogs its history. The shoulder Hanno corrected in year 1 has a specific ache in cold weather. The knee from year 4 does not fully straighten on certain mornings. These are notes in the margin of your body that you read every day. In year 13, Aziz tells you he is saving toward his Rudis. A wooden training sword, given to gladiators upon earning their freedom. He has calculated what he needs. He knows how much is in his account with Rufus. Rufus, unlike a scrupulous Lanista, is keeping accurate records because accurate records are how fraud works, not how it hides. For more fights, Aziz says. Maybe 5. The possibility of freedom has been in the air of your life since year 1. But you have kept it at a careful distance. Not because you don't want it, you do, with a precision that would surprise you if you articulated it, but because wanting something you can't control is a different kind of danger than the arena. The arena you can train for. In year 14, something changes in Rome's politics, as it periodically does. A new emperor has opinions about spectacle. He wants bigger, more frequent, more spectacular games. The Colosseum schedule intensifies. Rufus, chasing the contracts, accepts more fights than his fighters can comfortably carry. You have a conversation with Hanno about this. Unusual, you initiating, Hanno listening. You make the same argument he made to Rufus in year 9, using the same language. Hanno hears you out. Then says, you've learned to talk. Pause. Say it to Rufus yourself. You have leverage I didn't have. You do. 16 Colosseum wins. Rufus's most valuable property. You say it to Rufus. Rufus adjusts the schedule. Partially. Not from conscience, from the same logic as before, the financial logic that Hanno identified years ago. But it is enough to prevent the worst outcomes. You think about what this means, that having leverage in a system you did not choose and cannot leave is not freedom, but it is not nothing. This thought will stay with you. Year 15. Aziz earns his Rudis. 5 fights as promised, and then a 6th because the 5th ended in a draw that Rufus ruled didn't count toward the total, technically legal, almost certainly opportunistic. You are present in the yard when the wooden sword is handed over. Rufus makes a short speech. Aziz takes the Rudis and holds it for a moment, then puts it under his arm like a rolled-up piece of cloth. That's Aziz. That's entirely Aziz. Aziz leaves the Ludus that same afternoon. He doesn't pack much, there isn't much to pack. He says goodbye to you in the training yard, and what he says is both simple and true, you're next. You say, eventually. He says, not eventually. You know the number. Work backward from it. Then he walks out the gate. The gate closes. The yard is quieter for a long time after. You do the math. Aziz told you to work backward from the number. You do. 15 years in, your fight purses accumulated in Rufus's accounts total a significant sum. The Rudis purchase price for a fighter of your status, Rufus has never hidden this number, only obscured it, is achievable. The question is how many fights it takes. The answer is, approximately 6 more. 6 more fights. You are 31. You have fought 29 times in the Colosseum. Your body is still sound, you have been careful, and Hanno has kept you careful, but 6 fights is 6 fights. The arena is not a problem you can fully calculate. That is the one thing you cannot account for. Fight 30. A large secutor, young, fast, relatively inexperienced but with the particular danger of youth, unpredictable. Experienced fighters have patterns. Young fighters don't always know their own patterns yet, which means you can't always read them. You adapt. You win. 29-1 in the Colosseum. 5 more. In the break between fights 30 and 31, Ariovis tells you he is considering buying his own freedom. His record is comparable to yours. His calculation is different. He wants to go back to Germany, find what is left of his family, see if anything remains. He says this simply, without sentimentality. You say, are you going to fight your way to it or find another path? He says, I'm going to fight my way out the same way I was fought in. Fight 31. A Thracian. You have fought Thracians before. He is excellent. The fight goes 8 minutes and you take a cut on the calf, not deep, but real, that will require actual rest. Hanno is furious about it, not because you were careless, but because Rufus is already asking when you can fight again. You say, 3 weeks. Rufus says, 2. Hanno says, 3. Rufus takes 3 weeks. Small victories accumulate. During recovery, you do something unusual. You ask Rufus if you can leave the Ludus grounds for a day. Not to escape, Rufus knows you wouldn't run 3 fights from freedom. Just to walk in Rome. To be in the city without purpose or destination, which is something you have not done in 15 years. Rufus, calculating the optics of refusing, says yes. You walk for 6 hours. You sit by the Tiber. You eat figs from a street vendor. Nothing significant happens. It is the best day you have had in 15 years. Fight 32. You win. Fight 33, you win. 2 more. You are 32 years old. Hanno, at 70, is showing his age, the joints that bend the wrong way on cold days, the voice that comes from further back in the throat than it used to. He will not say anything about either. You do not mention either. Some things are respected by not naming them. Before Fight 34, something unusual happens. An imperial message arrives at the Ludus. Not for Rufus, for you. It is from an official in the imperial household who manages the Colosseum's programming. It says, in careful formal Latin, that your final fight before the Rudis has been scheduled for the opening day of the Imperial Games in spring. The largest games of the decade. 90,000 seats. 90,000 people. The expanded capacity the new emperor had built into the Colosseum's new upper tier. You have fought for 50,000. 90,000 is a different number. You spend a day being approximately unmoved by this, which requires effort. Fight 34 happens before the Imperial Games, a prerequisite bout in a smaller venue. You treat it like any other fight. You win. You are not cavalier about it. Cavalier gets you killed. But you are as calm as you have ever been in a pre-fight corridor. 1 more. 1 more and you have done the arithmetic. The night before the Imperial Games fight, you do not lie awake. You sleep. Completely, solidly, without dreams. You wake before dawn and the first thing you notice is that you slept. You think about the 17-year-old who lay awake the night before his first fight in Capua, running every lesson through his head in the dark. You think, good. Something changed in the right direction. The Imperial Games Day. Rome has been preparing for a week. The city is different when spectacle is coming. There is a particular energy, half festival, half controlled anxiety. Street vendors appear in new locations. Temporary seating is constructed outside the Colosseum for the overflow who cannot get in but want to be near the sound of it. The Colosseum fills. You hear it from underground. 90,000 people reaching capacity is a sound you feel in the stone before you hear it. The hypogeum vibrates slightly. The animals in the morning sessions cages are unsettled. Even the machinery seems louder. Your opponent is announced. He has been fighting for 7 years. His record in the Colosseum is 14-1. His fighting style is secutor, a pursuer, designed specifically to fight retiarii, but effective against all comers. He is from Hispania. His name in the arena is Hispanus Felix. Lucky Spaniard. You think, we'll see. You have watched him fight twice before. From the stands, from the underground corridor. You know he is left-footed in his pressure. You know he leads with the shoulder before a low attack. You know he slows slightly after 6 minutes, not much, but enough. You have been building this knowledge for a year, since you knew this fight was coming. You are prepared in a way that has nothing to do with luck. The gate. 35th time. You know the sound, the weight, the light. The sand of the Colosseum is a particular ochre. They source it specifically, apparently. You have never looked it up. But you know its texture under your boots, the specific resistance it gives when you plant for a combination. 90,000 people looking at you. You look back. At all of them. He is good. Better in person than from the stands, as they always are. He moves well. He is not nervous. 14 Colosseum fights, and this is his element, not a foreign country. You spend the first 2 minutes doing almost nothing. Moving. Reading. Confirming what you know. He attacks twice, you deflect without riposting. He thinks you're cautious. Good. Let him think that. Minute 4. He confirms the shoulder tell before a low attack. You have seen it twice. You wait for the third. It comes at 4 minutes and 20 seconds, left shoulder drops, weight shifts. Instead of blocking, you step inside his angle. The riposte is already moving before he finishes his attack. He doesn't see it coming. Almost nobody ever sees what they telegraphed. He goes down. Not from the wound, which is real but not fatal, but from his momentum and the angle. He goes down in exactly the way Berthold never wanted you to go down. Not controlled. He hits the sand wrong. The crowd knows what it has seen. 90,000 people react simultaneously and the sound is indescribable. He raises his finger. The crowd is already demanding mercy, not because they are merciful, but because the fight was exceptional and they want to honor what they saw. The editor of the games looks at the Emperor's box. The Emperor is present today. Everyone in the arena knows this. Including you. The Emperor gives the sign of mercy. The crowd approves. You stand in the middle of the Colosseum floor and receive this and think, 35 fights. 20 years since a market in Carthage and a panicking horse. 15 years since a chain around your wrists. Aziz was right. You always knew the number. You just had to survive long enough to reach it. The ceremony happens 3 days later. Rufus makes a better speech than he made for Aziz. He has had more practice with freedom ceremonies, and also your Rudis is an opportunity for spectacle, which Rome never wastes. Hanno is present. Ariavist is present. You receive the wooden sword. It is lighter than you expected. That seems right. You are free. This is a sentence that takes time to settle. 20 years of captivity does not exit cleanly. Freedom is not a door you walk through and find yourself on the other side unchanged. It is more like the arena gate. You walk through it and then you have to figure out what the fight looks like on this side. The first week of freedom is disorienting in ways you did not anticipate. Nobody tells you when to eat. Nobody structures your day. You sleep badly not because you are afraid but because the absence of a schedule after 20 years of schedule is itself a kind of noise. You have to invent the rhythm of your own days from scratch. This turns out to be harder than fighting. Aziz finds you. Of course. He has been free for 5 years. He runs a small trading operation in the harbor district, not spices, this time. Information. A broker of knowledge in a city where knowledge is, as you have always known, more valuable than gold. He offers you work. You ask what kind. He says, the kind where you read people. You already know how to do that. You learned in the barracks. The work Aziz offers is as a negotiator, specifically for contracts between Roman merchants and non-Roman suppliers. Someone who can read a room, read bodies, read the pauses between words. Who speaks Latin and Numidian and enough Greek and some Syrian from 15 years in a cell and a training yard. who has been managing information asymmetry since he was 8 years old. In year 17 of your time in Rome, 2 years after your freedom, Ariavist earns his Rudis. His ceremony is in the Ludus yard, just like yours. He takes the wooden sword and holds it in the same way you held yours, as if it doesn't quite have the right weight yet. He leaves for Germany 3 weeks later. He sends one message from the road, still alive. Roads are worse here. That is his entire correspondence. It is enough. Hanno dies in winter. He is 73, which is remarkable for any man of his era and more remarkable for a man who spent 50 years in gladiatorial training yards. He dies in his room in the Ludus, which is where he lived for 3 decades, and which he apparently never considered leaving even when he could. Rufus sends you a message. You go to the funeral. At the funeral, you stand next to Rufus, which is strange, standing as an equal to the man who owned you, in the same physical space where you were once property. Rufus, who has aged and learned things, says something you don't expect. He said you were the best he ever trained. He told me this the week before he died. He also told me not to tell you until he was gone. You think, that is exactly correct, Hanno. That is exactly you. In year 18 of your time in Rome, you are approached by a young Numidian man, just arrived in the city, working in a merchant house, disoriented by the scale of it. He was directed to you by someone in the North African community. He wants advice. About the city. About how to survive it. You sit with him for 2 hours and tell him everything you know. Not the arena. The other things. Read the pauses. Information is the resource. Hold your information until the right moment. You write a letter to your family in Numidia. The first in 20 years. You found a scribe years ago and dictated one, but you couldn't finish it. This time you do. You don't know if your father is alive. Your mother was already unwell when you were taken. You don't know what you'll find. The letter goes anyway. The uncertainty of sending it is better than the certainty of not. A response arrives 4 months later. Your father is dead, died 11 years ago, a cold winter. Your mother is alive. Old, but alive. She has a grandchild she is raising, the child of your youngest cousin. She dictated her reply to a local scribe who wrote it in Latin, which she doesn't speak, so there is a translation layer that makes her voice strange and familiar simultaneously. She says you were always the serious one. She says come home if you can. Year 19. You make a decision. You have money, more than enough, the negotiating work has been good and Rome pays well for people who can read rooms. You have standing, a freed gladiator with 25 years in the city, known to senators and merchants and everyone in between. You have an invitation from your mother. You decide to go home. Before you go, you walk the Colosseum one more time. You buy a ticket, which strikes you as funny, buying a ticket to the place where you were bought. You sit in the upper tier and watch a morning session. Nothing special, a beast hunt, a criminal execution, a preliminary bout between 2 young fighters who have too much energy and not enough technique. You watch them the way Hanno watched you in year 1. You see the mistakes they're making. You could fix them in a week. You find yourself at the gate where you entered on your first day. The fighter's gate. You stand there for a while. The gate is exactly as heavy as it was. Nothing about it has changed. Only you have changed, which is the only variable that ever matters. The gate doesn't know it swallowed you whole and gave you back smaller, harder, and different. Gates don't know anything. You do. You say goodbye to Aziz last. He will not come to North Africa. His life is in Rome now, the information trading, his wife, a Roman woman from the Aventine district, his 2 daughters who speak better Latin than either of you. He says, you survived the wrong side of everything. You say, so did you. He says, different calculation. You say, same result. He nods. You leave. The sea voyage to Carthage is 6 days. You are not sick this time. You stand on deck and watch Africa appear on the horizon, the faint dark line that grows into coastline, then cliffs, then the white shapes of buildings. Carthage. The city where a panicking horse changed your life. You have been gone 22 years. Carthage is different and the same simultaneously. The harbor, the noise, the smell of fish sauce and seaweed. But the street where you were seized is smaller than you remembered, memory inflates things, apparently. You find the exact stall where you were buying figs. It is still a fig stall. It has probably been a fig stall for 100 years and will be a fig stall for another 100. You buy figs. They are good. The road to Cirta takes 4 days. You hire a horse and ride it the Numidian way, which comes back immediately, like a language you haven't spoken but haven't forgotten. The land opens up as you leave the coast. The green of Italy is behind you. This is a different green, harsher, more honest, with the particular quality of a landscape that doesn't perform for anyone. Your mother. She is smaller than you remember, which is what age does, not diminishment, just compression. She has the eyes of someone who has waited a long time and was not certain the waiting would be rewarded. She looks at you for a moment without speaking. Then she says, "You got old." You say, "So did you." She says, "I had reasons." You say, "I had reasons too." She takes your arm and goes inside. Your mother's house is not the house you grew up in. That was sold after your father died. This is smaller, rented, in a neighborhood of the city that has more noise and less pretension. It is perfectly fine. The cousin's child, a girl of 9 named Mira, eats dinner with you and stares at you the entire time with the complete lack of social filter that belongs to 9-year-olds. You stare back. She decides this is acceptable. You stay for 3 months. You find the city of your birth can hold you again, which you were not sure of. Not the way it held you at 17, that version of holding is gone. But it can hold you as what you are now, a man who has been to the center of the world and come back and can sit in an ordinary courtyard and watch ordinary life and find that sufficient. You think about the men who didn't make it. Darius the Greek, whose wit and complaints are still more present in your memory than many people you have met since. Brennus the Gaul, killed by a scheduling error. The men whose names you learned and whose faces you remember and whose ends were various and mostly not chosen. You think about them not with guilt, there is nothing guilt could have changed, but with the specific acknowledgement that you owe them something, the fact of being here. After 3 months, you return to Carthage. Not to Rome, not yet, maybe never. But Carthage is a trading city and your skills are trading skills, and Aziz was right that information moves like spice routes. You set up a small operation in the harbor district. Not dramatic. A room, a few contacts, a reputation that slowly builds from people who know what you were and what you can do. In Carthage, you are not famous for the arena. In Rome, you were Jugurtha the Gladiator. Here, you are just a Numidian man with good Latin and good contacts and an unusual ability to read a room. This anonymity is the most valuable thing you have owned since your freedom. You wear it carefully. You are 43 years old. Your record in the arena, the final, complete record, is 35 fights, 31 wins, 3 draws, 1 loss. 19 years of active fighting. You are, by any measure that the Roman world uses to evaluate gladiators, a legend. You do not think about it this way. You think about it as, you did the arithmetic. You survived the calculation. A Roman historian named Gaius Suetonius Crispinus arrives in Carthage 10 years later, collecting materials for a work on gladiatorial culture. He has your name from 3 different sources. He wants to interview you. You agree. He is 28 years old, very earnest, and takes careful notes. He asks you what you want him to understand. You think for a moment. That it was a business, you say. Not a spectacle. The spectacle was for them. The business was mine. He asks if you regret it. This is a question that requires thought, not because the answer is complicated but because honest answers to simple questions always do. I regret the men who died who didn't have to, you say finally. I don't regret surviving. Those are different things. He writes this down. You watch him write it. You think, words on a tablet. 3 lines on a parchment. Even the dead deserve more than that. He asks about Aziz. You tell him. He asks about Hanno. You tell him. He asks about Ariovistus. You tell him, including the fight that was 2 trained professionals forced to fight each other because it was scheduled, which is the most honest account of how the arena actually worked. Crispinus writes all of it. Faster now. He seems to understand he has found something unusual. Crispinus asks, why did you win? Not in the sense of a single fight. In the total sense. You think about all of Hanno's lessons. About falling correctly and getting up. About breathing through your nose. About the 4 minutes of clarity that the arena gives you and how to make those 4 minutes work for you. About reading rooms. About knowing when to speak and when not to. Then you say, I paid attention. Consistently. For a very long time. The interview lasts 3 days. Crispinus uses your account in a text that survives, partially, to later centuries. Your name, your arena name, Jugurtha, appears in fragments found in libraries. The real name your father gave you, the name the powdered scribe wrote when you were born, does not appear. That name belongs to Numidia and to your mother and to the 9-year-old Mira, who is now a grown woman in Cirta. Mira grows up and marries a merchant in Cirta. She names her first son after your father. You attend the birth announcement, not the birth itself, which is not how it works, and hold the child for a moment and think, he will have a completely different life than either of us. He will grow up in a world where someone has paid certain prices ahead of him. He doesn't know this. That is exactly right. You live to 61. This is remarkable for any man of the era, and more remarkable for a man who spent 19 of those years in an arena where the average career was short and often terminal. You do not die dramatically. You develop a fever in the summer of your 61st year, in your room in Carthage, overlooking the harbor where Pudens first bought you 44 years before. The harbor is busy on the day you die. Ships moving in both directions. Commerce, correspondence, people going places they chose to go and some going places they didn't. You can see, from the window, a ship that will leave tomorrow for Italy. For Rome. For the city that gave you your arena name and 19 years of forced combat and the skills that kept you alive long enough to be free. You look at it for a while. Then you look at the ceiling. The last things you think about are not the arena fights. This is the detail that would surprise the historian, if he were present. You think about your father's market stall, the smell of salt and spice. You think about the ginger root Aziz gave you on the ship. You think about Hanno saying, less wrong than before. You think about figs from a Carthage street stall that were just figs, nothing more, eaten in freedom. You had a life that was interrupted and redirected and made into something nobody chose. And out of that, through 22 years of a world that treated you as property, through chains and arenas and a city of 1 million indifferent people, you made something yours. Not what you would have chosen. Not what your father would have wanted for you. But yours. The things you carried out of the arena, the ability to fall correctly. The understanding that panic is energy and energy can be directed. The habit of reading rooms before speaking in them. The patience that comes from knowing that the fight is rarely over in the first exchange. These are not lessons from the arena. The arena just made them necessary. They are lessons from paying attention. Aziz will outlive you by 7 years. He will hear of your death from a Carthage merchant who passes through Rome. He will tell his daughters that you were the most serious person he ever met and that serious was not a flaw. His daughters will find this confusing. He will not explain further. That is Aziz. Ariovisst lives into old age in Germany. He finds his family, some of them. He never sends another letter after the first one. 20 years later, a Germanic chieftain who has heard the story of a man named Ariovisst who fought in Rome's greatest arena starts a rumor that he was sent by his tribe on purpose, as a spy. Ariovisst, hearing this, is reportedly amused. The rumor spreads anyway. Rumors prefer interesting to true. Rufus, the lanista who inherited you from his uncle, dies a moderately prosperous man. He does not become a good person, but he becomes a competent one, which is the version of improvement available to him. His account books, when found later, are scrupulously accurate. Whatever else he was, he kept his numbers honest. In a city of 1 million, you learn to take what accuracy you can find. The Colosseum still stands when you are gone. It will stand for centuries. Longer than Rome itself, in the sense that matters. The empire will fragment and reorganize and be called other things, but the building will remain. The ochre sand will be replaced by different surfaces, earth, medieval refuse, gardens, eventually tourists. The building doesn't know what it saw. Buildings don't know anything. What the building saw, in your case, a Numidian man from a market in Carthage who spent 19 years learning to survive in a system designed to consume him, and who survived it, and who walked out with his name, his real name, not the arena name, and his skills and his memory intact. That is what the building saw. It was worth seeing, even if the building doesn't know it. 20 years. 35 fights. 19 in the Colosseum. 1 loss. 3 draws. The name Jugurtha in fragments of a historian's text. The name your father gave you in the memory of your mother and your cousin's daughter and a few people in Cirta who knew you before any of this. A freed man's record kept in Rufus's honest accounts. These are the documents of one life. They are enough. Here is what the arena taught you that has nothing to do with fighting, that the people who treat other people as property are not confused about what they're doing. They know. The system works because it's designed to work. Understanding that design is not the same as accepting it. You understood it in year 1. You never accepted it. That distinction kept something intact in you that the years could not reach. The ginger root. You kept a piece of ginger root, not the same one Aziz gave you on the ship, but a replacement you always had somewhere nearby, in a pocket or a pouch or a drawer in your desk. Not from sentimentality. From the principle, someone will be sick on a boat someday and you'll have what they need. This is how you decided to live. Prepared for the moment when someone needs what you have. The young historian Crispinus publishes his work. Your account is in it. Not prominently, you are a chapter, not the whole book. But you are there. You read it when a copy reaches Carthage, which takes 2 years. You find 2 factual errors and one thing he got exactly right. He wrote that you described the arena as a business, not a spectacle. He quoted you correctly. That matters. Rome goes on. Of course it does. Emperors succeed emperors. Games continue. New fighters take the ochre sand and learn to fall correctly, or don't learn, and the arithmetic plays out. The system that consumed you continues consuming. You are one of the people it failed to fully digest. This is not a statement about your exceptional nature. It is a statement about persistence and arithmetic and the specific usefulness of paying attention over a long period of time. The things that helped you survive were not exotic. They were a Syrian man on a ship who gave you ginger, a Carthaginian trainer who taught you to fall and did not like you and was correct about almost everything, a German fighter who nodded at you once and called it friendship, a Greek who complained constantly and died quickly and was missed longer than most, an arithmetic of names and gestures and borrowed pieces of ginger root, adding up to a life. You are 53. Myra's son is 12, the boy named after your father. He comes to Carthage sometimes when her husband has trading business here, and he visits you. He is serious and curious, which reminds you of someone. He asks you about Rome. You tell him what's true: it is large, indifferent, loud, and full of people all trying to manage their own version of the same calculations. He writes this down. You notice. You don't say anything. Myra's son grows up to become an administrator in the Roman provincial government. He is good at reading rooms and reading people, which he learned from a great uncle who never told him where those skills came from. He will never stand in an arena. He will never be property. These are the things that were paid for ahead of him, invisibly, in the currency of other people's endurance. The harbor of Carthage at sunset, your last year. You sit at the window, the fever has come and is staying now, not dramatically, just persistently, the way real danger usually arrives, and watch the ships. A merchant vessel is leaving for Rome. Another is coming from somewhere east, Alexandria, maybe, or Cyprus. The harbor is exactly as loud as it has been every evening for the 40 years you have lived in the city on and off. The last thing you do that has consequence, you give your records to Crispinus's associate, a younger historian who is continuing the work. The fight records, the account books Rufus gave you as a courtesy when you earned your freedom, the letter from your mother, your own notes from 20 years of negotiating in the harbor districts of 2 cities. A life documented with the care of someone who always knew information was the resource. The historian, sorting through the materials after your death, finds one item unexpected, a small carved wooden figure. Numidian style, a horse, about the length of a hand, worn smooth from handling. He does not know where it came from. It is not documented. Some things belong to the person who carried them and are not translated. That is as it should be. 61 years. From a Numidian market boy learning to ride before he learned to read, to a property item shipped across the Mediterranean in chains, to a name in the Colosseum that 90,000 people shouted, to a freed man in a Carthage harbor district office reading a trade contract with complete professional competence. One life. One arithmetic. All the way through. The morning of your death, the harbor is busy. This is not poetic. The harbor is busy every morning because commerce does not pause for individual lives, which is exactly as it should be. You are aware of the noise, then less aware, then not aware. The harbor goes on. The ships go out. Someone somewhere is being sick on a boat and wishes they had ginger. The world continues. That is enough. You were not exceptional because you were stronger or faster than everyone else. You were not exceptional because you were luckier, though you had some luck. You were exceptional because you kept paying attention when paying attention was hard. This is not a lesson the arena teaches uniquely. It is a lesson that every difficult situation offers, if you are willing to do the work of receiving it. Here is Hanno's last lesson, delivered in your memory rather than your present. You've learned to fall and you've learned to stand. Most people only learn one of those. The ones who learn both usually survive. The ones who learn both and then learn to wait, they become something harder to kill than anyone expected. 22 years in Rome and the Colosseum. 22 years in Carthage and Numidia, before and after. One life split by a chain and reunited by persistence. The things that survive a life are not the dramatic ones, not the 35 fights, not the Colosseum crowds. The things that survive are, the ginger root, the nod from Ariovisst, Hanno saying, less wrong than before. Aziz's first letter from Rome, still alive. Roads are worse here. You were a Numidian trader's son. You were property. You were a gladiator. You were a fighter of 35 documented bouts. You were a freedman. You were a negotiator, a harbor district operator, a great uncle, a source for a historian. You were the person who always had ginger in his pocket. All of these were you. None of them was all of you. That remainder, the part that was just you, unreduced, that was what survived. The Colosseum stands for another 1500 years after your death, give or take the usual historical imprecision. It outlasts emperors, outlasts religions, outlasts languages. It becomes something else in each era, a fortress, a quarry, a church, a ruin, a tourist site. In all of these forms, it is still the place where the ochre sand was. Where the gate opened. Where you walked into the light 35 times and came back. Somewhere in a library that will be lost and preserved and lost again, Crispinus's text survives in fragments. A scholar in a future century reads a passage about a Numidian fighter named Jugurtha and makes a note in the margin, remarkable record, 35 fights, freed. That note will be read by another scholar, and another, and another. A chain of people passing on a fact about a life. This is how the dead stay in the world, not by their monuments, but by being worth noting. What do you want him to understand? The historian asked. That it was a business, not a spectacle. Yes. And also, that the people in the arena were people. Not types. Not archetypes. Not symbols of anything. Specific people with specific histories who got there through specific circumstances and found specific ways to survive. This one was from Numidia. He rode horses before he learned to read. He had ginger in his pocket. He paid attention. He came home. The horse carved in wood that no historian could identify, it was the one your father kept on the shelf of the market stall in Cirta. The one you looked at as a child while he sold salt and cloth. You found it in his things when you went home, kept by your mother in a cloth at the bottom of a chest. You carried it from Numidia to Carthage and it sat on every desk you ever had. A horse from a stall in Numidia, following its owner across the Mediterranean and back. Some things are loyal. In Cirta, on the day Myra's son turns 20, he receives a package from Carthage. You arranged it before you died, through the historian's associate. In it, the carved wooden horse. A short letter explaining what it is and where it came from, written in Latin with a Numidian phrase at the end that his mother translates for him. The translation is, pay attention. It is enough. He puts the horse on his desk. It sits there for the rest of his life. The last image, Carthage harbor, morning. A ship leaving for somewhere. The sun on the water in the way it has been on the water in this harbor since before Rome was anything, and will be after Rome is something else. The harbor doesn't know what passed through it. The harbor doesn't know anything. The water moves. The light is on it. People go to their work. The day begins the way it always begins, without asking permission, without providing instructions, without any guarantee of what it contains. You were born Numidian. You died free. Between these two facts, there is a life. It was taken from you for 22 years and you took it back, not heroically, not cleanly, but persistently and with full attention. That is not a small thing. In a world designed to treat certain people as expendable, surviving with your name intact and your story told is a form of resistance that requires no drama to be real. This story belongs to a place and time that is gone. But the arithmetic is the same, pay attention. Learn to fall and to rise. Know when to speak and when to hold what you know. Build something small and real with the people who prove themselves. Keep ginger in your pocket for the ones who need it. Do the math. Survive the calculation. That's all. That's all it ever was. Jugurtha. 35 fights. 19 years. 1 life. You paid attention. If this story moved you, if something in it felt worth paying attention to, you know what to do. Leave a like. Subscribe. Share it with someone who pays attention to things. History is full of people who survived extraordinary circumstances with nothing but persistence and the willingness to keep their eyes open. We will tell more of their stories. See you in the next one.